Well, today we're talking all things baby. If you haven't visited our channel before, let me just say welcome. We're so happy to have you join our big family here. My name is Jenny. I'm the mum. I'm a mum of 16, and today we're going to talk a little bit about all the baby stats, all the pregnancy stats, all those questions that you have been asking me. Now, on our Instagram page, our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, folks often ask questions about our big family. So I'm going to try and answer as many of those today as I can. I've made a list. I've got a paper list. I've got some on my phone. I'm just going to try and work my way through those and answer as many as I can. So we do have a couple of videos, some Q&As that hubby and I have done, and I will put the links for those in the description box below, so would love for you to go and check those out. Those Q&As are hubby and I talking about how we came about having a big family, how we support our big family, and just a few details about what life is like in our big family. But today's video is just about all the questions that have been asked about pregnancy, babies, and I would encourage you to watch right till the end of this video. Now, when I meet somebody and they say, do you have children? And I say yes. And they say, how many children do you have? And I say 16. And there's always a pause. And then they go, did you say 16? And I go, yeah, 16. And they go, 16 as in 1-6. And I go, yeah, 16 children. Then the next question that always comes out of their mouth is, are they all yours? And yes, they are. And then they ask, are they all his, as in my husband's? And I say, yes, they are. They're all ours. So I think nowadays when you have a really big family, people just assume that it's a blended family. Perhaps you brought two larger families together to get that sort of number. And or maybe that you've fostered children or something along those lines. I think people are surprised that, you know, we're a married couple and we've had all of these children together. So I love seeing people's faces and the reactions when you tell them that you've got 16 children. It's really priceless sometimes. But look, it doesn't matter what size family you have. All families are beautiful and unique in their own right. So whether you have grown your family biologically, whether you've grown it through adoption or fostering, whether you are a blended family, co-parented, step-parented, doesn't matter. All families are beautiful, and we all need to embrace the joy that comes from raising our families. So the next people are curious as to the genders of our children. So we have 9 boys and we have 7 girls. So I think we are incredibly lucky to have almost an even split of boys and girls. I have thoroughly enjoyed the raising of the different genders. I know lots of families with just either all boys or mainly boys and vice versa, and it's really interesting to talk to those mums and see the differences. I know that when our boys were young, they were very full on and energetic, and wow, they could just wear you down because they just go, 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 go all the time. And the girls were a little bit more laid back, I guess. You know, they were happy to go off and play with their dolls or have a tea party. And, you know, they weren't quite as full on as the boys. But I find a shift in that as they have gotten older. Our girls are much more, you know, they're forthright women. They're very confident and competent in what they do. And the boys are probably a little bit more chilled and a bit more relaxed as they've gotten older. So it's a really interesting part of parenting the different genders. But yeah, 9 boys, 7 girls. It's been an adventure so far, and I'm sure it will continue to be quite an adventure throughout the rest of our lives, you know, just raising all of these beautiful, beautiful people. So people always ask, what are our children's ages? So at the moment, our eldest is 31, our youngest is just 6. When I had baby number 16, our eldest was 24 at the time. So we had 16 children, age 24 and under. And I mean, essentially that's a full generation of children, right? From that age down. It's been interesting having such a large age range from top to bottom of the kids. So, I mean, one moment you are literally sort of having life discussions with somebody in jobs, relationships, you know, people wanting to buy houses and cars, that kind of thing. And then next thing you're sitting on the floor and you're playing dolls with the little one or building Lego with the little boys. It's really fun. It's challenging at times, but I wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, so 31 down to 6 and wow, yeah. Okay, let's see. So the next question is, how many times have I been pregnant? I have been pregnant 23 times, which is an awesome blessing. It really is. For somebody who started out not wanting children, so I can remember saying to Ray, you know, I'm not interested in having kids, really just don't want any. And he said, well, he would like 4 or 6 children. And I was like, that's not going to happen. He came from a family of 6. That's so many. But, you know, I agreed to have 1, maybe 2 babies, which just was so wonderful. It opened up my heart to what I was called to do in life. And from there, it was actually me that asked hubby if we could have a 3rd baby. Really just enjoyed what I was doing. And so we had number 3. We had a little girl. So we had a boy, then a girl, then another girl. And hubby wanted another boy. So I said, look, yes, okay, look, we can go back. We can have the 4. We'll have a little boy, and that's our family complete. And of course, we all know, even though I didn't acknowledge it at the time, we all know that you don't get to choose the gender of your children. So we had our 4th baby, and it was a little girl. I think there was a lot of discussion back then about could we try again. And I was, yeah, I think I'd be okay with having another baby. That would be fine. So we got pregnant again, and we lost that little one. And I think the moment you go through a miscarriage, it does change your heart. It does change the way you feel about pregnancy. And from there, we were just like, we're happy to have another baby, or 2 or 3 or 4. That would be great. You know, we had discussions of, wow, what if we had 8 kids? That would be amazing, you know. So, you know, there was discussion starting about that time about maybe extending our family to a much larger size. But we did fall pregnant again really soon after that miscarriage and had a little boy. And at that stage, I think we had committed ourselves. We just shut our eyes and jumped into family. And again, we were really just enjoying this process of growing our family. So we just continued. And we went a long time before we had another miscarriage. We had 12 children at that point before we had another miscarriage. And I think I coped okay with that at the time, because it was, you know, the odds are is that if you're going to have a family, especially if you're going to have a bigger family, you're likely to maybe lose 1 or 2 along the way. That's the statistics anyway. So I think at that point I accepted the fact that yes, we've lost another baby, but we've been so lucky up until then that I had a peace about it. But then we continued having children after that, and we got to baby number 15, and we still were open to having more babies. And then we had 4 miscarriages in a row, and that was a very difficult time. It was the excitement of being pregnant, then the grief of losing that child, and the desire to have another baby. And the yielding, I guess, to, you know, God's plan for our life. I mean, you can't force people to have babies. Like, you can't make it miraculously happen. I mean, it will happen if it's meant to happen. So we had these 4 losses in a row. And I think at that point we had accepted that perhaps that's it. We're going to have 15 children. That's the size of our family, and you know, maybe we're not going to have any more babies. So we did go through a bit of a grief process, I guess, of trying to gracefully accept that we might not have any more children. It was very hard. I know that I struggled with that, and I probably kicked and screamed against it a little bit, and I think I had a few conversations with God about this at the time. But I believe that you never give up hope. There's always hope. And we did manage to get pregnant again, and we had our beautiful little Caitlin. And she has just brought us so much joy. Like, she's sassy. She runs this household. She has everyone wrapped around her little finger, and she's just such a sweet little girl. She really is. So we're so lucky to have her. And even then, after having her, you know, we've always been open to having more children. We did fall pregnant again after that, and we also lost that little one as well. And it wasn't a straightforward miscarriage. It was, you know, necessitated an ambulance ride and surgery in the middle of the night, and it was quite traumatic. You know, it hurts your heart a little bit. It breaks little pieces off. And I think as mums in particular, we all know that having children, growing our families, raising our families, there are things that hurt us, and our heart gets a little bit battered at times, and it's very difficult to hold all of that together gracefully sometimes. So, you know, I was very sad for a long time after that miscarriage. I really didn't want to finish growing our family on a loss. I desperately wanted to finish having our family with a baby in my arms. We haven't managed to fall pregnant since then. So, you know, will we only ever have 16 children? Maybe so. Are we happy with that? Absolutely. We are so joyful with what we have been given. We just love our kids so much. They are challenging at times, and yes, there are struggles, but having been entrusted with the responsibility of raising so many children, and so that we can watch them grow and have their own lives and have their own families, is just, it's almost beyond words. I feel so honored to be a mum. I couldn't think of a better path for my life. I mean, here I was planning that I was not going to have any children, and God had a different plan for me and saw fit to bless me with so many babies. And wow, I would have missed out on so much if I had not followed that path. So I'm grateful, just really grateful, and I love being a mum. Love it. So the next question is, were they all natural conceptions? So again, the answer to that is yes. We have never needed to have any extra treatments like, you know, IVF or, you know, any sort of outside help to have our babies. Very, very lucky. I understand that there are women out there who truly struggle to fall pregnant. Now, my heart absolutely goes out to you, and you know, I'd love to keep you in prayer that your dreams are fulfilled and that you manage to either conceive or find a way to have a baby in the future. Parenting is amazing, but you know, again, it's not something we can force. Sometimes I think we just have to hand it all to God and see what His plan is for us. And in saying that, although we haven't needed help, that doesn't mean that we haven't had moments of disappointment over the years when we've been trying to have a baby and it hasn't happened straight away. You know, our pregnancies, our conceptions are all just like everybody else's. It's a matter of, you know, so many things having to line up and be absolutely perfect in order to have a baby. And sometimes that just doesn't happen. So, you know, we've faced plenty of times where we've been disappointed. I have looked at pregnancy tests and stared at them so hard, wishing, and I'm thinking, if I just wish enough, if I stare hard enough at this test, a second line will come. And of course, we know that doesn't happen, but you know, most of us women have been there at some point where we have just wanted it so badly and it hasn't happened, and it is devastating at the time, and it really hurts not to have a baby when you want to have a baby. So my heart goes out to all the women who are trying to have babies at the moment, and absolutely I will keep you in prayer and sending you all the baby dust in the world that your dreams get fulfilled. Were they all natural deliveries? So we've experienced so many different types of deliveries. It's been it's been interesting. I don't think you can go in to have a baby and just, you know, tick a box and say, yes, I'd like a normal natural delivery, thanks very much, and it's going to happen. Again, it's one of these things I think you just have to yield to and say, well, I'm not sure what's going to happen. You know, this is what happened last time, or, you know, the last few times, so that's what we would expect this time. But we all know that things can change and things can go wrong. Different scenarios happen as you birth your babies. So I've had one C-section for number 16, and the previous 15 babies I've all delivered naturally. We've had to have a few inductions along the way. We didn't have an induction just because we were impatient. You know, there was other things going on and we needed to make that decision. We've had some really long labours. We've had some really quite shorter ones, but generally speaking, it takes quite a while for me to deliver a baby. So, you know, we just trust that process. We trust our doctors. We've always had amazing doctors. How many hours of labour have I been in? So from beginning to end, that is 241.5 hours of labour, with the last delivery being incomplete, ending in an emergency C-section. So I could have been in labour for longer, but we had that emergency situation at the end there. And yeah, that was scary. Our doctor was in the hospital doing a C-section for another mum in labour and delivery, and they got him to come in and do an examination. And at that point we realised that the umbilical cord was out ahead of the baby, so it was a cord prolapse, which is life and death situation right there. I mean, it's very dangerous. So I was prepped and rushed straight in for the C-section. I was put under general anaesthetic, and yeah, one of the scariest things I've ever dealt with in my life. And thankfully we had our healthy baby girl, and mummy did okay afterwards, even though I wasn't prepared for that kind of surgery. It was a struggle for me. That was my first C-section. I had no clue what I was in for with that, and it was quite the recovery, and everyone had to adjust to it. And I think we all pulled together nicely and we got through it. I'm very grateful that I have managed to be able to deliver all of our babies naturally, bar that last one. And that was a lesson. That was quite the experience, and I'm grateful for that experience as well. It opened my eyes as to to what other women go through, and I have the utmost of respect for the women who have no choice but to have a C-section when they have their babies, or are put into that situation where it's an emergency, and to save your baby's life or your own life, you have to have that C-section. So, you know, aren't we lucky we live in a time where we can have one of those safely and get our babies here safely. So how much did our babies weigh? I will tell you, we had one baby, which was the only baby we had early, and she was in the 6-pound range. We've had 3 babies in the 7-pound range. We've had, let me count this up. We've had 10 babies in the 8-pound range, and we've had 2 babies in the 9-pound range. Whether they're 6-pound, 9-pound, doesn't matter. You've still got to get them here, and it takes a lot of work for mamas to get their babies here. So I had to work hard to deliver baby number 1, and I still had to work jolly hard to deliver baby number 16. So, you know, that is why they call it labour. It is hard work. Do I like pregnancy? For the most part, yes. I actually really love all the aspects of growing babies. I love the excitement when you hold that test for the first time and there's 2 lines on it. And, you know, I've had morning sickness with all of my babies. And although that's not pleasant, feeling, you know, unwell, or if you're actually sick, but in saying that, for me personally, being sick and having that morning sickness generally means that I've got a really good hormone load for that pregnancy, and it's more likely to be a pregnancy that will stick, and you're not likely to lose that baby. So I've embraced that, I guess, to learn that that's just part of the process for me when I'm pregnant. And, you know, so that's a good sign that good things are happening in there, and that there's a little bub growing and hopefully growing really strong. I love having a big belly. I love having movements from the baby. I used to love the little kicks and punches and all of those sorts of things. Maybe not so much when they like to sit on your bladder later in pregnancy, and it's they think that's a great place to sit. I've actually enjoyed, although nervously so, I've enjoyed labour and delivery. I think knowing that you're going to go through that process and you're going to be handed a baby at the end, it's worth the effort to get that baby here. So I've actually sort of appreciated that time as well. You know, I've had plenty of the regular pregnancy issues that most people, you know, sore backs and, you know, pinched nerves, cravings, lack of sleep, all of those things. I go through all of those just like everybody else. You know, it is a process to go through, and I think it's important to embrace all of that. But I don't have these easy pregnancies. You know, I have the regular problems just like everybody else does. But, you know, it didn't put me off. I was always keen to go back and have another baby. So, Do we want more babies? Yes. I would absolutely love to have more children. But in saying that, I am very realistic about the fact that I'm not 20 years old anymore. So I am now in my 50s. So the odds of being able to fall pregnant successfully and carry a baby to term, birth that baby and have that child to raise, the odds are decreasing as each year goes by. But I haven't gone into that new season yet. So there's always a possibility of having more children. We never discount that. We don't go about preventing pregnancies in this household. So if it were to happen, we would be absolutely over the moon about that. But we are very realistic over the fact that it may not happen for us anymore. And 16 children is truly just an awesome blessing. and we are so grateful for that. So it's not like we'll be unhappy if we can't have more children. We are just perfectly happy where we are at the moment as well. And it's a pretty busy life. Having 16 kids it's hectic at times. There's a lot of schedules to coordinate and just trying to run the household. We've still got 10 children at home at the moment. It's just busy. In fact, I think it's busier now with grown children than what it was when we just had a handful of small children to run around after it. When we had just a bunch of little kids, it was exhausting, and I can remember complaining so often about, wow, I'm so tired all the time. It's just hard work. You know, I've got 7 kids, 8 kids, 9 kids, and it's tough, you know, and no sleep and new babies. But now it's different because you're coordinating, you know, small children, school schedules, work schedules, sports schedules, household things, you know, all the groups and activities that I am involved in as well. So it's busy. I'm busy and I'm tired now, but I would still absolutely welcome more children. But will that happen? I mean, that's up to God, isn't it? I mean, we won't prevent anything, but I'll just take the path, whatever God wants to send. If he wants to send more blessings, we've got open hearts and open hands. If he chooses not to send more blessings in that form to us, then we're still very, very happy and very blessed. Now let's talk grandbabies, right? We love grandbabies. I love being a grandmum. It's fantastic. Watching your own children grow up, get married, and start growing their own families. Wow, that is just amazing. I've been very lucky to be able to babysit my grandbabies, and we have lots of fun here. They're full on. Like when you stop having your own babies and you haven't done it for a while, grandbabies are exhausting, right? There are some days I'm so tired when they go home because they really keep you on your toes. They really are just an absolute joy to Ray and I. We are just so enjoying having grandbabies. It really is wonderful. How many grandchildren do we have? 4, that's right. We've got our 4th grandbaby due very, very soon. Birth is imminent. So our son Carl and his wife Claire are expecting their 2nd baby. We don't know the gender yet. They didn't find out what the gender was, so it's going to be a surprise when that little one arrives and we welcome it into the world and into our family. Everyone's beyond excited, waiting. Can't wait to see what they have and what they're going to name that baby. And I'm waiting for a cuddle. Definitely waiting for those newborn snuggles because, oh, they're just so wonderful, aren't they? They smell so good. New babies are just so squishy and soft and wonderful. So we're all waiting for this precious blessing to join our family. If you have more questions for us, drop them in the comments below. We love answering them for you. And make sure you subscribe and stay with us. And also pop over to Instagram and our Facebook page. We will be keeping people updated over there as well. So it's been a pleasure. I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you today. So I will catch you next time. God bless.